Hi, I'm Lorian, and this is the Knitting and YouTube channel. Thanks for being here with me today. It is Sunday, September 8th, and I'm just back from being away for the weekend. Went to visit my daughter at her university, and my son came down from his university, so we had a quick family weekend, which was fantastic. If you're new here, thanks for checking things out, and many of you are new. I am not sure if you came from another podcast referral or if in episode 13 the title was Useful Menopause Resource. That was the "and" part of the episode, but I'm glad you're here, however you've gotten here, and look forward to connecting. I created this channel just as another platform to talk about my knitting. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, and here. Even this podcast can be found by searching Yarn Love Turtle, all strung together as one word. I hope you are doing well. It's been a little bit longer than usual between podcasts. I felt like I planned to record one last weekend and got sidetracked by a few things, which I'll talk about later in the episode. So, without further ado, what I'm wearing, this was a work in progress 3 weeks ago, and for a couple of weeks afterwards, I pretty much exclusively worked on this. This is the Ferda Sweater. I'm gonna stand up so you can see. It is there's the bottom, an all over colorwork sweater designed by Anna and Heidi Pickles, and I first saw this design on the Knit All the Things YouTube channel by Laurel, who also goes by West Maven, and she used her Advent or mini skeins to knit this design, and I just thought hers looked spectacular, and I thought it was a great way to use up some mini skeins. At the end of this, therefore, the end today is going to be mini skeins and countdown calendars, and I'll talk a little bit about ones that I've purchased or what I've purchased to make up mine, and an amazing resource that's out there. There's a podcaster, knitter, crafter, sewist who has named Amy, who has created a major list of a couple. She's got some amazing spreadsheets going with great useful information. So I used the mini skeins from a few countdown calendars that I had last holiday season. So one was from Cornbread Honey and the other was from Brazos Fiberworks. And I think I have a couple of mini skeins in here also from Playfulday Yarns. Now, the Cornbread Honey was not actually, I think her name's Tanya's, sold as a mini skein, like a countdown calendar. She was just selling random mini skeins on sale just to deplete her inventory. So I didn't really know what I was getting, but they were at a discount, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try that. I'll get those colors. I have plenty of bags from past countdown calendars, and my husband just put them in bags for me. So I opened up a surprise each day. The Brazos Fiberworks one was a 12-day countdown calendar. So I had more than enough colors to work with. And there's a little bump here because I'm wearing a t-shirt and a necklace underneath. I had more than enough colors to work with, so I started by organizing and grouping the colors by color family. So I had all the blues together, the greens together, the yellows, reds, and then I thought I was going to work with a certain color set, and then decided it really wasn't what I wanted. I paired each color up, so I paired each of these, like up triangles and down triangles is a stripe, essentially. It's a raglan design, you can see that here, and long sleeves. And the sleeves, I'm sure I modified. I didn't do as many decreases. I did have to make some modifications for the fit, and I backed up and rewound up to the divide for sleeves a couple of times. But back to my color choices. So at one point I had, what did I have in? I had yellows and oranges in with greens, and and pinks. And something wasn't quite working for me. So I took out the oranges, greens, yellows, and kept the pinks and brought in the blues and purples. And then, as I said, I created sets of each that would be a stripe. I really wasn't sure how it was going to work out. And I must rewind. This pink color is Mama Jess knits. I had won some skeins from her. And I had some left over from a different summer knit that just worked out well in this color collection. So then I just lined them up. I just sort of separated any like dark blue from dark purple, or I didn't put two like speckly colors like this one with another speckly color, just to make sure that there was enough contrast to the eye, like visual contrast in each stripe. So this is designed as a unisex sweater, and for my preferences, the body part is a little more narrow. I could have done with another set of stitches at least in the body growing. You basically, each as you're increasing, you make another triangle or set of you make another triangle as you keep going. And so you have to kind of keep your increases, your stitch count to within that pattern repeat in order for the triangles to continue to grow at the same pace. I found out by the time I got to dividing for sleeves, it was going to be too narrow. So then I went back and added one repeat's worth, which was I think another 8 stitches of triangles. That still wasn't enough. So I had to go one more size here in the yoke. Now I like my yokes a certain length, and right now this is okay. It's a slightly longer, but it's not too bad for me. I really couldn't make it go any further. I think the pattern called for like one row before dividing, one round without any increases, and I didn't do that because I had to go back, make the extra increases here, make the extra increases of stitches on either side. I think I added one repeat. I don't think I added 2. And the yoke was already plenty long. So I couldn't make it any longer by adding stitches through the raglan. I did some decreases with the sleeves, and I knit my sleeves so they do match. I happen to have enough yarn. I was not sure. They match the body and they match each other. I knit them in tandem, and I used my Chiagu Shorty circular needles, and I used the short tip and the long tip on each sleeve. And I was for a time working back and forth, and just to make sure I had enough yarn of the color pairings to do each one. Otherwise I would have had to come up with a different plan. But once I got far enough, I think I started like clustering, and I would do maybe 3 stripes on one and then 3 stripes on another, the same 3, and just sort of went back and forth. I did knit the cuffs 2 at a time, magic loop, the sleeves. When my arms are down, it's a little hard to show, but the sleeves are full length. And when I wore this last time, people asked me if I was going to take out the neck band. There were some where I wore it on a live. I'm not going to. I think it's fine. I'm not sure about you, but I think it's fine. It's a warm sweater because it's double thickness. It is fingering weight, but because the whole thing is color work, stranded color work, it is double the thickness. So even though to me it was a summer knit, it wasn't really a summer wear. And I was tempted to do short sleeves, but because I still had the yardage, I did not end up running out of yarn in any color. But it was a great use of the yarn. I could see using this motif on a different raglan with maybe different I don't know. I really tried to think of how to get these increases so that it fit better, and I think I came up with something that worked out in the end. But I felt like this would be a pretty motif in a circular blanket. I just think it was a lot of fun, and I was glad to find a way to use up some of my December 2023 countdown calendar minis. Let's see. Next. So by the time I cast that off, I had wanted to get back to one other work in progress, and with the start of September coming, I really wanted to get casting on for a couple of things that were part of knit-alongs or make-alongs. So all three of these fit in at least one make-along category. So I showed this on episode 13. This is the Oban. I think I'm mispronouncing that, and I think somebody told me last time how to pronounce it, but Oban, I can't remember, sorry. But this is a vest. It is designed by Thea Colman or Baby Cocktails, and I am using the most glorious farm yarn I think ever. Just reaching out of frame here. I am using Renninger Wool Co. And this is the Winnie Woolly Buns DK. Now it does have some little spots of white because Winnie is mostly a chocolatey brown sheep, but she has white here and she has some white spots on her back. Sorry, the light is, there we go, there she is. This put up is small batch yarn from well-loved, responsibly raised sheep. Jenny is a friend of mine. We've become friends online and we've been together, met each other in person. Her farm is right near where my daughter goes to school, and we had coffee this morning. So that was just delightful. We are coincidentally knitting the same project in the same yarn for her make-along. And she is running the Name a Lamb m.a.b.e.l make-along. This put up is 225 yards, and it is next to skin soft. I mean, completely. It is all merino wool. Almost all of her, I think she said she has 18 sheep, are merino. And I had this in my hands and I was like, I could knit a pillow and sleep on it. It is that amazingly soft. This is a V-neck vest, and Thea has designed a cardigan, a sweater, a hat. I have versioned some of this motif to a cowl, and I have knit the cardigan and the hat, not the pullover. So really happy with how this is coming out. It was also very interesting because Jenny brought hers. We took a picture together. You could see it on both of our Instagram accounts. And our gauges are so different, so different. She knits much more tightly than I do, and I had to go to a smaller needle, and my fabric is coming out less dense than hers. But I'm sure when she blocks and when I block, we'll just do them to different degrees, and we'll both, maybe next time we see each other, we'll actually take a photo wearing our sweaters together. I am also working on, and this made for excellent car knitting because the color work part in the yoke was done. This is the Smoldering Embers. I guess it's sweater, but Smoldering Embers by Debra Gerhard. That's pretty good. And let me just see if I can unroll this. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Again, this is a yoke colorwork sweater. You can see the motif maybe a little better there. And I am using this gray yarn, which is Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia, which is an organic merino. I bought this yarn almost a year ago from Skein Yarn Shop, and they are out of Rhode Island. And the put up is really quite good. It's 382 yards for 100 grams. This is the Stone Pebble, close, colorway. And this color changing yarn, truth be told, I'd show you what's left, but it's all in pieces. I felt like I had to do a lot of color management with this skein. This, in part because just this motif is very refined. It doesn't have a lot of sections that are thick. And so it's really maybe 1 or 2 stitches. And I felt like the sections that had the colors, the plies, I think it's a 3-ply sport. It's a sport weight. It's Yarn Hero Merge Sport. The color is called Girl Crush. And I bought it at a seconds sale. And I just felt like the sections that had these very dynamic colors, barber poling, really, it was hard to see the motif. So I have a bunch of different sections. Now there is more color work on the sleeves, and the body is designed to have shaping. I'm just gonna knit it straight down. I think, well, I'm showing you the back. I think I will put another, I can't remember if it has another single row of the contrast color. Maybe I'll do that at the waist and at the cuffs. I have to see what I have left in the yarn. So it has some more at probably like from the wrist down, or sorry, like forearm down of additional color work. Now, Debra Gerhard is also known as Spruce Lane Designs. Friends, her patterns are spectacular. She has quite a few. There are more colorwork yoke designs. There are some beautiful shawls. I'm gonna see the one, I just have to look at my computer because I was just taking a look at her patterns, and her most popular one, where there are about 200 projects, is a shawl called Ephemeris. But I don't even know how I stumbled on her designs, but I think I was just looking for something, really looking to make sure I used these color changing yarns. I only had one skein and I wanted to find patterns. I bought a few different colors a year ago in the second sale, and I wanted to find patterns that really used most of that up, most of each skein up. I've knit, this is the third color. I bought 4, and the next one is also a work in progress. So definitely check out Debra Gerhard. I will link this pattern in the show notes. I tend to link my project only when it's finished, and then I'll link the designer's page instead when it's a work in progress. But check out her patterns. I think I have more of, I think there are more of her designs in my future knitting. This will be something that I put into, well, the Down Cellar Studios, which is Boston Jen, runs a make-along every year called Pigskin Party, and it runs during professional football, American football season. And you can join at any time. It's just a community. There are all kinds of football-themed lingo, but you don't even have to watch football. You don't have to be a football fan. You don't have to knit anything football. You just get points as you submit finished projects during the time of the make-along for points, and you get put on a team. This year I'm on team 5. I think she's done this for more than 10 years. I can't remember exactly how many. This is my 3rd or 4th year joining that. I just like to see what other people have made. I'm not very chatty in the team thread, but there are all different ways to use points. There are sponsors, vendor sponsors, and who have dyers and bag makers and all kinds of things. If you were hearing some noise, that is my dog, Cooper. He was away for the weekend as well, and our dog watcher just brought him back, so he's just coming in and saying hello. Okay, go have a drink. All right, so back to my 3rd work in progress, which I just don't have that much to show other than the neckband. Here we go. I have a lot of stitch markers on this because that's what the pattern says to do. I don't always do that. It has a rolled collar. This is the Stripy Unicorn, which is a pattern by Locatelli. Hohi runs a knit along also every year called the Hohi's Fall Cow, and it's knitting her patterns only, and I seem to always have some project planned in her yarns, in her designs, one of her designs. Last year I knit the All of the Lights cardigan, and this year I'm doing Stripy Unicorn. I had the yarn ready. I bought that last year at New York Sheep and Wool. Sorry. Dog is very thirsty. He found his water. So these are my 2 yarns. This again is Yarn Hero Merge Sport, and this one is Ewetopia Ridge Sport. So Ridge and Merge. This color is called Glowworm, and again, I bought this as seconds. I've started this 3 times, in part because I just wasn't loving which colors were coming out of the skein to be nearest my face. So this is the band from Ewetopia, the Ridge Sport. It is 100% fine wool from Midwestern sheep. So I don't know exactly what type of yarn it is. They are based in Wisconsin. And this is the second time I'm using Ewetopia fibers. This color is called indigo, this blue. And I did do a small swatch, and I did wash it, and nothing came off, and it is not crocking on my hands, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. Obviously I have further to go than this, but I really was working on my other two works in progress. So the Hohi Fall Knit Along runs, I think, until the end of November. The Name-A-Lamb Make Along runs until the middle of October, I think the 16th. Pigskin Party runs until the Super Bowl for this one. And this one can go in both. This can go in Pigskin Party also. And the vest, that's what that's for. So there's also another knit along that Jackie is running, Jackie is making, and it's called the Fall Feels Cowl, and I'm pretty sure some of these will qualify for that. I don't always join make-alongs, but sometimes they can be motivating, and sometimes there are points and prizes, and it can be fun to just sort of knit with other people. Truth is, all of these are things that I had planned to knit anyway, so I just happened to be catching some make-alongs. The Hohi one, I did decide I wanted to get through my fingering weight and summer knits, at which I did everything except one set of yarn I didn't really figure out what project to use, which was a natural fiber, a cotton yarn. It was gonna probably become a bag. But I knit all of the fingering weight projects that I intended to, so I was pretty pleased, and so was excited to jump into some more fall. These are sport weight, these two sweaters. The vest is DK. Okay, all of these are being kept in my m.a.b.e.l project bags. I have this one, and I have this one. This one is, I think this is their medium size tote, which I won at Vogue Knitting Live New York City. And this one I bought, which is a backpack, and they recycle old quilts into bags. So I really enjoy their bags. Okay, new stuff. One I'm not actually gonna show, but I will talk about, and the other I will show you I have right here. So in episode 2, I talked about resources for destash, or where you can find things for destash. And I've had a lot of luck finding things in some Facebook groups. And one I just couldn't pass up. So I acquired this, Tukuwool DK. Now I think I have 5 skeins of this bright green yellow, 1 of the blue and 1 of the pink. And I thought these would make a beautiful cardigan. I will not knit this until next year though. I don't know exactly what pattern, but they were well priced and I couldn't pass it up. And I'm not going to Rhinebeck. I will go to Fiber Festival in New England, but I have a different strategy for choosing some of my planned knits next year. So I really want, usually what I do is going into the end of the year, I have make a list of designs that I would like, or patterns that I would like to knit. And I shop for those either at Rhinebeck, because I can drive there, or Fiber Festival of New England. I also live driving distance from there. And I will purchase what I might not have for those. Sometimes I get inspired and a few things come and go from the list, but generally it sort of keeps me on track for the year. And I don't set deadlines or goals because I feel like for me, it takes the knitting fun out of things. I tend to use heavier weight yarns in the winter or cooler months, and lighter weight, knit lighter weight knits in summer months, whether they're lighter gauge or plant-based fibers, whatever, cotton, yeah. Next year, I want to do something similar as far as creating a list, but I want to focus just on choosing certain designers. And so one of my sweaters may push into January. I have, in addition to what's on my needles now, another 6 sweaters still on the list that I thought I might end up making. So I'm focusing on just certain designers, I guess I would say. Not necessarily the most popular ones. In fact, I've knit plenty of those, but just sort of ones that are more challenging and maybe make me think, at least for part of them, part of the project. It's nice to have a nice section of stockinette to just sort of take a break from thinking as well. Okay, what's next up on my needles? Okay, my dog is right here nudging me. I don't do a lot of test knitting, but I have done some test knitting and some sample knitting, different things. And to be honest, I thought originally that in this in the Smoldering Embers, that I would also incorporate some of this gorgeous Sewrella DK weight yarn. This is from Fiber Macguyver. It is her Sewrella Silk DK in the colorway Renegade. It has an amazing put up at 74% baby Sewrella, 26% silk, and 246 yards. And Susie, who is Fiber Macguyver, is a dear friend of mine. I purchased this yarn from one of her, I think I purchased it, I don't remember from who, but from one of her stockists, although she sells direct as well, because I wanted to try this yarn. It didn't really work because this is sport and this is a very fluffy DK. So I don't think I'm going to use it on that, because Beth Macdonald Stone, who is a friend of mine, designed a cowl called the Icing on the Cake Cowl, I believe. And I said, okay, great, I will test that. I wanted to test the vest, and I didn't really have any yarn in stash that would necessarily work. She designed a coordinating vest. This cowl uses the same, I think, cable motif, and I'm going to use this. So I am in a test group, and I can see I already have some folks chimed in who I happen to have some other friends in here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's knit on a size 8 needle, assuming the test goes well. It's designed on that, and this is what I will be using. I am also going to cast on, although that might not be cast on by my next episode, the Montrose sweater. And this is also an acquisition. Very interesting coincidence. I'm going to bring up a picture of it. I plan to knit a long sleeve version. So the designer of that is Sophie, I might not be pronouncing this, Lucente or Lucent. It could be different than one of those also. This is a good one to show. So this launched a newer designer. She's based in Rhode Island, and my friend Isabel, who has a YouTube channel as well. Isabel Duchatel, I think is how it is. It's not just her name, and she is from France. It's just beautiful to listen to her speak. And sometimes she will put up a community post when she sees a pattern that strikes her as lovely, that she thinks her subscribers might like, especially if it's discounted or free when it's out. And so this pattern I grabbed. It's a beautiful color work pattern. I don't know, you might be getting a lot of glare. I am. And this weekend, Sophie reached out to me and gifted the pattern to me, even though I had already downloaded and had planned to knit it and have the yarn for it. So I will cast that on in October. Cooper is fine. Cooper is whining because he wants my attention because he hasn't had it in a couple of days. But he was just very content in lying on the floor. All right. So a couple of other things, resources. I wanted to give a shout out to Amy of the Happy Little Yarn, because she has collected input, like her own information and input from others. She has an amazing spreadsheet of crafting, like knitting, I think knitting and crochet podcasts, YouTube podcasts. She also has an amazing list of Advent and countdown calendars, and she has, I think she's also started a small business list. So if you go check out her channel, Happy Little Yarn, she's got an amazing channel herself. She also does, which is lovely, a crafter spotlight each week, which highlights somebody else's channel that she just talks about and wants to bring to light. These are amazing resources. Okay, that brings me to the end section, which is the Advent or countdown calendars. Over the years, I have purchased quite a few. I've purchased Chelsea Yarns, I've purchased, excuse Cooper if there's background noise. I purchased Chelsea Yarns, I've purchased from Skein Cocaine, I've purchased from Playfulday, I've purchased from Speckled Finch and Brazos Fiberworks and maybe another. That's quite a collection. Some years I've had one, some years I think I've had four. This year I have purchased the Freckled Whimsy DK sock skeins, self-striping sock skeins. I just enjoy the act of knitting a stripe every day during the month of December. I did that theirs for the first time last year. I had a great time doing it. I enjoy that it's DK. It doesn't take a lot of time. I also try not to have a ton of gift knitting or personal knitting for the month of December. This year, in addition, have found, just like I did last year with Cornbread Honey, I have found some mini skeins through these destash groups that I mentioned earlier. So I have acquired, someone was selling 45 mini skeins from Playfulday. Now, they don't run the full color family. They're not really a set. They're not a gradient. They're just colors, mini skeins. Full size 20 gram mini skeins. And truth be told, I have been using Playfulday, who's Tara Lynn's yarns, for several years every year I somehow was knitting a sweater in her yarns. I have not this year, but for several years I did. Or at least one thing, a sweater, something. And you cannot go wrong with her. Her color sense is just impeccable. She has wonderful taste. She just curates beautiful colors, whether they're a countdown or a sock set or whatever, any collection. So I knew I couldn't go wrong with that. I also, in this destash, before I had found that, people were destashing mini skeins from, so I think I have like maybe 15 from Explorer Knits and Fibers and 10 from Sewrella Yarns. And maybe each of those was some type of set. Again, not really a gradient in itself, but I will mix those. My thought was to mix those up as well into, and put them in my bags and just open them up. What will they become? I'm not sure. I am thinking though of doing the beekeeper quilt and maybe a crocheted blanket out of these. When they arrive, I don't really spend a lot of time looking at them because I just sort of put them aside for the holiday, the December holiday season. So I have to kind of look at the colors I end up with, but I just feel like I, even now, am kind of craving, instead of these large projects, these sweaters, something small every day or something small every 2 days. And just to start collecting these things, my thought is to use the first 6 months or so, which is when I work in a school, and we'll get to that in a second too. And I don't always have as much time during the school year. I also don't have as much energy for knitting as I do in the summer. So my thought is to just sort of make these small pieces throughout those months and then use some of my time in the summer to piece them all together. So if you have, I am not a very good crocheter. I'm a very experienced crocheter. This is one of my favorite things, which I just wore out on a walk. This is the bucket hat. It is one of the designs by Pam Sapienza. This is the first item that I've ever crocheted a couple of summers ago, I think. And I enjoy it. I do wear it, but I have not done the scope of a blanket. I don't think I want to do like full granny squares that change color. I would do a solid square, but I don't think I want to do a multicolor granny square. So Battenberg might be something. but my crochet skills are very, very rudimentary, very basic. There were not a lot of different type of stitches needed for this. And everything I learned for the most part is from YouTube. So, I guess I'm looking for more of a beginner, and I don't know if I want to do a granny stripe. I did start one, and I really just want something that I can make small pieces of. I don't mind seaming or stitching together later on. So I'm certainly open to ideas. Okay, lastly, this is beyond the end. This is just the personal piece of the podcast. So if you're not into that, and it will be quick. During the school year, I work in my town's local high school, and I'm a secretary, and I support the associate principal and work with our substitutes and give them their assignments, their daily assignments. And I also serve on our school and our district's emergency operations committees. And while we were meeting this week, the school shooting in Georgia was happening, and our chief of police was there, and all the police somehow were notified, got an alert or notice about it all at once. The 3 police officers, we have 2 school resource officers, and fire chief and another fire person were there, and a lot of leaders. I am the only secretary who goes to these. It's just for representation and somebody with my perspective based on my position to offer some suggestions or insights. And it just really kind of shook me, as I think it shakes a lot of people. I feel like working in a school, you forget that they're not always safe, that horrible things happen sometimes. I live in Connecticut, and I feel fortunate because I agree with my state's a lot of our social policies. I completely support gun use for hunting and for recreational use, but I don't think there's a need for people to have automatic weapons or military style ammunition other than the military, and even then it's awful. And I don't really understand why America, because I think this is very much an American situation, but I don't really understand why America can't get out of this. I'm not trying to turn this podcast into something political. It is really more that it just it hit pretty close to home in that sense. It always does, and it keeps happening. And so I just really, between that and what has been going on in the Middle East, is just a mess all around. Some of the news that continues to come out of there I found very taxing last week, and just sort of brought me down to a place where I just wasn't going to be able to put a podcast episode together. And I think that's just part of being human and living in the world today. And but coming back and having hope. Hope is important. So that's just sort of what took me a little bit longer to get this out to you. I have a background in marketing, and specifically direct response marketing. Some of it was digital. My professional background has nothing to do with schools, but I don't watch the metrics of this channel very closely. I feel like that would be a rabbit hole I could probably go down pretty easily and get lost in. And I want to spend that time knitting so that I have more content for you. So there's Todd. So I don't really watch the metrics, but we did surpass 1,000 subscribers, so thank you. And I will be putting some type of gift away together in a future episode, something to come, because I love giveaways. I participate in them. I've won a few in my time, and I just think it's part of the fun, and I definitely have yarn and stuff to share. All right, with that, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you soon. Please remember to like and subscribe, and just drop a comment saying hi. Take care.